Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for coming along. As you know, our guest today, the guest of 100 Years of Coconuts today, is a man who had a legendary career at Cambridge United. He was my first hero in the amber and black. Well, no, he wasn't in amber and black. He was in green, sometimes in red, as I recall. Joined Cambridge United in 1962. By the time he'd left in 1970, he was at 353 appearances, I think. Some amazing performances. Player of the Year 3 times in the first 5 years of his career here. So please give a warm Coconuts welcome to Rodney Slack. Yeah. I should say we have Josie here as well. Hello there, she's away. Nice to have you too. I'm going to kick proceedings off with a question. Rod, what do you think of the goalkeeping today? This afternoon.
Well, considering that they were a lot taller than me, you see, because I was such a short one, I really did, he's not in here, is he, the Oxford keeper? I did blame him for 2 of the 5. He didn't come for any of the cross balls, very disappointed in that. As the older generation will know, there's a lot of young ones in here, you probably weren't born when I was playing, but the point is, I was called a line keeper, which meant that I'm not supposed to have come off my line a lot. But I can assure you that if I'd have not come for some of those today, and at least punch them, then I would have got into trouble when I got back in the dressing room. So really today, I think, I can't say anything about our goalkeeper. I was a bit dubious about the goal that we let in. I think he might have come for that. And 2 of theirs, I think, was terrible blunders. So that's my own personal opinion, and I sat, which I've never been allowed to do as a professional footballer. I was a professional footballer for 18.5 years, and I was never allowed near the director's box, and I've been sitting in there today, and I've been treated. Absolutely, I have, yes. I was treated to a meal before the game, and it was really, really marvellous. Although, while I was here for my 9 years, I'm sorry to say, Mr. Lever's done me out 10 years. As a professional footballer, if you do 10 years, you do get what they call a testimonial game. So I didn't get my testimonial game, but I did get one after 5 years. Some of these photographs here, look, I've just been telling the people in the front here, the way we done that was that it was for the Cambridge News, and that was for my testimonial game. And I had a team off the television that was on every week called United, and there was a lot of West Bromwich Albion players and film stars and God knows what, and I decided to ask them if they'd come for my benefit out here, which they did, and I got nearly 6,000 people turn out that Sunday. It was the first game to be played out here on a Sunday. There was no Sunday football in those days, and I had a heck of a job to get that on, because I had to pay a lot of extra money for policemen, because the Lord's Observant Day people was round my house trying to stop the game. So there was a lot went on that day, but as you know, rather as I said, I had a very good crowd that day. And but the photograph, this one here, look, that they've kindly put on here, these glossy ones. How we done that was that the Cambridge News wanted a picture to put in the evening paper. They kept throwing this ball down the allotment, down the far end, Newmarket Road end, and as per usual as goalkeepers, I wasn't catching it properly. So what we decided after half an hour to 3/4 of an hour, that if I kept the ball in my hand, and took off. I'd like some of you younger ones to try that. And that's what we had to do. I had to hold the ball in my hand and dive. And we did that about 10 or 15 times, and that's the picture they came up with. I was a bit bruised after that, but I'm just asking these young, not the older generation, but the young ones to get a football in their hands and dive off, and don't bother about stopping and hurting yourself on the floor, and try it sometimes and say, cool, I'm not going to do that again. Anyway, the reason I'm here is I was kindly asked to come along and meet you people, and also for you to fire some questions at me. I was here for most of the 60s, as you know, so anything to do with the 60s. I started my career in 1958, 57-58 season. I started at Leicester City. I stayed there 5 years, near enough 5 years, and as usual, I picked the wrong club really, because I was understudy to Gordon Banks. And what chance had I got? But Gordon taught me a lot of things. Believe it or not, I used to babysit for Gordon. Yeah, I used to babysit because I was away from home. I was only a young lad. But anyway, to give me something to do, I used to babysit for Gordon. And but after the training at Filbert Street, the old ground, we used to get this ball of string, and he'd say, come on Rod, they're all gone in, we'll go out there and we'll work our angles out. And if there's any young goalkeepers in here, the way that, I'll say Gordon, not Rodney, Gordon Banks, the way he learnt his angles for one-on-one, one player coming through with only the goalkeeper to beat, we used to go out with this ball of string, and we used to put it on the goal line, and we used to work it out with angles, and I don't know what the terms are called because I wasn't a mathematician, but anyway, we worked across the 18-yard area with this string, and that's what we'd say is where we'll be when they're coming from that angle and so on. And that's how we got a good reputation for being pretty good on one-on-one, as they call it in professional football. I'll just quickly tell you this little story. It'll only take me a minute before you start asking me questions. We'd done all this, and we used to do it for weeks and weeks, Gordon and I. And when I did get a chance to play for QPR in the first team, and we played Chelsea, and a boy called Jimmy Greaves was playing for Chelsea. And what Gordon and I decided was that if a player was coming through, don't forget, your best side, which was my right side, give them the big angle or give them the big hole and show them the right side, you know, and then you'll probably get it. So I did this, and Jimmy Greaves was coming through, and I just went through my mind, oh, I know what I'll do. So I left him a big gap on the right, ready to take off to my right, and where do you think Jimmy Greaves done? To my left. And he scored. So it don't always work, you see, but anyway, if there's any of you got any questions to ask.
Rodney, we heard that your career may well have started with a bet in the sugar factory that you wouldn't phone up Leicester City. Can you tell us that story?
Well, when I left school, I was a messenger boy in the British Sugar Corporation at Peterborough, because I'm a lad from Peterborough. And there were big offices there were, and because I had a racing bike, I was a messenger boy, and I used to have to take all the messages around, also take messages out around Peterborough on my racing bike. But anyway, the point is, I got fed up with that, and when I was playing for this little youth club, I thought, well, I can't have this. So I was in the office one day, and the boss said something to me, and he said, I'll bet you £5 you daren't write to Leicester City for a trial. And I thought, £5? That would buy me 40 cigarettes. So I'm sorry for these young boys, I did used to smoke then. And that bought me 40 cigarettes for £5, 2 and 6pence, 12.5p, to you young'uns. So I thought, right, so I wrote, you're quite right, I wrote to Leicester. I was playing for this youth club on one Saturday, and at half time, this white-haired gentleman came across to me and said, we'd like you to sign would you give me your address and I want to come and see your parents. Obviously they had to get their permission first. So that's how I really started. They came to see my parents. My father was quite proud that a professional club like Leicester City wanted to sign me. And I'd really started as an inside forward anyway, and I only went in goal because somebody got injured that day, so that's how it all started. As you know, I'm not very big for a goalkeeper, and anybody who played in those days will tell you that you could really hit the goalkeeper and really you'd get away with it. I mean, I remember playing for Cambridge against Bedford in the FA Cup, and a boy who came and played for Cambridge, a boy called John Fay, he came big centre forward, and when he was playing for Bedford, I caught the ball and he hit me, and I finished up in the back of the net, tangled in the net with the ball, and the referee gave the goal and we lost 2-1. Now today he would have got sent off for what he did to me, you know, but that's how it goes. So you're quite right, that's how I started in football, by writing off 40 cigarettes or half a crown. Alright, anybody?
Just to say, there is a microphone which Tom will bring to you to ask your questions. And we first is Ian.
Rodney, you've already touched on the infamous fallout with Bill Levers earlier on. It's been pretty well documented in the media over the years. But for someone who was only 3 years old at the time, could I hear the story from the horse's mouth, please?
Well, well, as you know, being here for that length of time, I was here for 9 years, and which is quite a long time to stay at one club. But while I was here, I had 3 or 4 managers, and Bill Levers was one of them. I've got nothing against Bill whatsoever, because like I said, I haven't got anything against him as regards Cambridge United, because I think he's done a wonderful job. You all know that. Those who have followed Cambridge United, and even if you're a young fella, you've looked in the books and found out in his era it did do well for Cambridge. It just seemed that I didn't fit in with what Bill wanted. I mean, because your older fans probably in them days was part of them, because you used to sing Rodney behind the goal, I used to get into trouble for that, and I used to come in after the game and he'd say, "Oh, I see your family's here again." Well, my family don't live here. So it wasn't anything to do with them, but it used to upset him, you know, for you people to share, you know, sing Rodney. He seemed to, I don't know, everything I did, if I did make a mistake, and let's be honest, of course I made mistakes, and but I used to get the biggest rollickings. I really did. You know, he used to seem to pick on me, I don't know why, and yet when Cambridge, when we toured Germany, he wasn't going to take me, and with all your letters in the paper, in the Cambridge Evening News, and there was a lot in the paper, as you know, 20 or 30 letters during the fortnight leading up to it. Eventually he decided he was going to take me. I was the only one he wasn't going to take, and I don't know why. I mean, to this day, I've been in the first team for 9 years. I wanted Cambridge to get in the league. I'd done my best. I played with a broken leg at Burton. I played all the second half with a broken leg until I come home to Addenbrooks, and they found out I'd broken my leg. I'd had all these 11 stitches in there, look, against Wimbledon, and I played 3 days later because he was desperate for me to play. You know, there's lots of 15 stitches around there, look at Hereford. You know, and they fetched me home from hospital, and I played again on the Tuesday. So I never let them down when I was asked to play, you know, sort of thing. So he can never say that that's one of the reasons he didn't, I don't know why he didn't like me. But that's the way it went. I don't know why, and then of all things, the third cartilage that I had out, and in those days you were in hospital 10 days, and I'd had all my cartilages out. The third one I had out, and blimey, in the next bed to me was who? Mr. Bill Levers. So the Cambridge Evening News thought it'd be a nice picture, him and I having our picture taken in the bed, which was in the Cambridge Evening News, splashed across the news, you know, wishing each other well. But like I said, you can't take it away, don't get me wrong, you can't take it away what Mr. Lever's done for Cambridge United. I can't take that away, but you know, that's the sort of and if we had lots of 6-a-sides and 7-a-sides, he always made sure I was on his side. So you know, do you know what I mean? And and we used to, for instance, let him score when because we did all our training on Coldham's Common. And when that train went by at 5 to 12, we knew it was 5 to 12 because that certain train. So if he was losing or drawing, we'd just let him score the winner and then we'd come home. But don't forget, we was full time, and we was the only non-league side at the time, and that's one of the reasons why I chose Cambridge. For that reason, that I'd been used to full-time football, and to come here and hear what Alan Moore, who was the manager at the time, and Mr. Woolley, who was Abbey Tyres, which I don't think are there anymore now, but he was chairman of the club. What they told me, it looked to me as if Cambridge was going to go a long way, and let's be honest, you can't ask for anything more, can you? I mean, they done exactly what they said. I mean, I had lots and lots of offers from clubs. You know, my wife sitting there will tell you, I sometimes, not just from her, but I got into trouble lots of times because because I had a lot of money thrown at me, but I didn't want that, because the two clubs previous, Leicester and QPR, I didn't feel wanted, not like I did at Cambridge. You see, and there's a difference when it's your living. I was always in the reserves at Leicester. I only got in the first team when Banksy was on international duty or injured. The same at Queen's Park Rangers. He was going for, Alex Stock, the manager, was going for promotion to the first division of the old first division years gone by, and he always wanted his experienced men. So coming to Cambridge, you know, I went straight into the first team, and as you know, I stayed there for the 9 years. So that's one of the reasons why, if anybody's got that question to ask me, that's one of the reasons why I didn't go to a league club. I had, as you know, Fulham, Northampton. There was lots of clubs that offered a lot of money for me, and the club, to be fair to the Cambridge United, they called me in the office, the manager and the chairman at the time. They called me in the office and told me all his office was coming in, and asked me if I wanted to go. And I decided that I'd got two young kids, and I was wanted here at Cambridge, so I stayed, and that's history. Thanks, Dad, he said. Anyway.
Had you finished? Sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Just at this point, I'd like to introduce the patron of 100 years of coconuts. Lurking in the doorway there is Mr. Luke Chadwick. You didn't get man of the match today, Luke.
We should have done.
But yeah, our thanks to you and all the lads for that performance today. While I'm thinking about it also, before we go on with the questions, there are some photographs here which Rodney could sign for you if you get up quick enough at the end. And also at the end we will be taking orders for the new Coconuts polo shirts, which you can see displayed on the table behind you. £20 of your money, that's all they are. We will also, of course, be doing the draw for the raffle at the prizes of a signed shirt signed by Mr. Chadwick and Mr. Slack, an action photo, the action photo of Rodney, also signed, and the signed programme from his benefit match in 1966, which he was just talking about. So please come along afterwards and have a look at all those things. There are sample shirts for you to even try if you want to. Right, can we get on with the next question, please?
Yes, Luke Chadwick, Rodney Slack. Yes.
Just quickly, Luke, do you want to say a few words about today's game? Or?
Well, it was a great performance, I think. Great to get the win. Obviously coming after the Burton game, which was a fantastic result, and that's really nailed that on now. I think we're up to 7th or 8th. Good. And long may it continue, a few more wins, and I'm sure we'll be fighting at the right end of the table.
Right. Another question, please.
Can you wait for the microphone?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rodney, of all the games that you played here at the Abbey Stadium, what's your most memorable game? Or your most memorable save? I know you made lots. I saw many.
I think that I had lots of very good games, as you can well imagine. In 9 years, you're gonna, and there wasn't many seasons where I didn't play most of the games. So I can remember here when we was drawn 1-1 with Hereford, and there was a player in those days, John Charles. Some of the older generation will know John Charles. He had a brother as well, but John Charles was one of the first English players to go abroad and play, as you well know, and he was playing at the time for Hereford. And we was drawing 1-1, and they had a penalty down the allotments end, and that was when the allotments, before that stand was there. And I did have to guess right, although I never moved for a penalty until it was kicked. I never ever took a chance and went one way, and that's why I think I was quite successful in saving penalties, because I used to wait, and I was supposed to be quite, got a lot of agility. So I waited, and I managed to just go to me right, the best side, and just tip it over the bar. So that was one of them here that kept us. We wanted that draw. Also, I think when we beat, I think it was Margate, we beat at the end of that season to win the league, and also help us to get into the football league. That I remember that game against Margate. But I think some of the games I had more work to do, obviously away from home, and when we done the double, we beat Cheltenham in the League Cup, and I kept a clean sheet here, and we won, and I kept a clean sheet there. We won 1-0 there, so obviously we won the cup. So that I can remember things like that. Although, to be perfectly honest with you, I can remember a lot of the games, and I can remember a lot of the mistakes I made as well. So over 9 years, I made a lot of mistakes, and I also had some good saves in those 9 years. You've got to remember, we was full time, and to be perfectly honest with you, Cambridge actually got some good players. There's no two. We got them from a lot of non-league sides. You had one of the better centre halves. We got him from Kings Lynn, Jerry Baker. I'm talking about in the Southern League days, obviously, but we had a boy called Jackie Skerr. I mean, crikey, I wouldn't have liked to play against Jack. I mean, crikey, if you didn't have a pair of pads on or a library book, you was at it. You was going to get kicked from the first minute to the 90th minute. So, we had some good players. I was very, very lucky to have some good players at Cambridge United, and we had some good managers.
What do you remember of? That's better. What do you remember of Johnny Hess?
Johnny, oh dear. Johnny was an Hungarian, as if some of you don't know, but I'm sure you do know, because that's why you're here, because you're interested in gaming. So you know who Johnny Hess was, and Johnny came here, and obviously nobody knew anything about Johnny Hess. I didn't even know which club he'd come from, but we soon got to know John, and every away game, don't forget the roads weren't as nice as they were today when I was a player travelling away. We went through every village under the sun, and we used to go in these rickety old coaches, but we always went, the night before. That was another thing for a club, you see. If we played Yeovil, we went the night before on Friday nights, and what they'd do is they'd arrange to play Weymouth on the Monday. So we, unbeknownst to the wife, she'd got to spend 3 days on her own while we was down there, playing 2 games. But Johnny he had the hardest shot I've come across. I had one bloke who holds the goal scoring record at Leicester, a bloke called Arthur Rowley. He's in the Guinness Book of Records. Arthur, he had a very hard shot. If you got behind this, sometimes it'd lift your foot back. But Johnny was, we used to get him telling us stories, to pass the time away travelling. And he'd just come out of the Hungarian Revolution, John had, so he told us. And he told us one day he jumped out this tank with a revolver. And there were 3 blokes with Sten guns, I think there were, but they all went because John had this revolver. But and he used to say, I think I'll have a whiskey, but I don't like vodka. And we'd say, pardon? Say that again, John. And he'd say, well, I love whiskey, but I don't like vodka. And we said, well, you got it round the wrong way. So these gentlemen who do all this work for the Coconuts, and you've got to remember, Cambridge United are fortunate to have people like this that's doing all this work behind your backs. They went up to interview him, I think, last week, and he still don't speak very good English. But I do know that we used to get him talking, especially to, well, it's wrong really, not to take the mickey, but help him with his English. We used to like to tell him it was whiskey and not whiskey.
It was a job to understand him. He got a Hungarian accent and a Doncaster accent together, so I mean, try to put those two together. It's a job to understand him.
And interviewed by a Scotsman.
Interviewed by a Scotsman, yeah.
And interviewed by a Scotsman, you do need an interpreter now. All right.
There was one thing that Johnny said, you was recalling training on Coldham's Common, Rodney. How did you get on with the cows and what they left behind?
Well, when I was brought up as a footballer, we never had pitches like these young lads have got now, did we? Let's be honest. And we was used to diving in, where the cows have been. But over here, that was, we had good fun really over there. That's why we was lucky to have a bath here when we got back. But in those days, you never had the nice showers and that they got now anyway. We had the old stone bath in the corner. A lot of people will know that, over in the corner of the ground. But that was Cambridge, and now how far it's come. Very good. But we enjoyed it over Coldham's Common because we used to go nip in the swimming pool on our way back. It was very good. And pre-season, we always finished up at the swimming pool because it was obviously hot weather, isn't it, pre-season? And I used to just be catching them up as they were starting off again, so I never did get a rest really, but I was bad at it as a goalkeeper.
Okay, another question?
You're 3 weeks old.
One from the family.
I did promise you a question, Dad, didn't I? And you've answered so many questions over the years. I was really struggling to find something slightly different. And I think you've almost answered the question that I had rehearsed, which was, I know one year you saved, I believe, 7 out of 9 penalties in a season. And I was going to say, looking at the modern techniques now, what technique did you use? But I think by saying guesswork, you've probably just answered the question earlier. Is that right, or was there another technique you used?
Well, the only technique, like I said earlier, that I never moved until he kicked it. So he never send me the wrong way. But I used to just wait and guess the right way because I never moved until he'd kicked it. So that's how I got 7 out of 9 one year, and the following year I got 9 out of 13 I saved. So as you can, it seems as if Cambridge was a dirty side, but we weren't always giving penalties away.
Thank you. Tom?
Rodney, for the benefit of the younger people here, can you tell us what the ground was like in the 60s? How has it changed? What's the differences?
Well, I was lucky that once again we've always had a nice pitch here, but you've got to remember by December the groundsman was full time. We had a foreign chappie, John, who lived across the road, and also a groundsman after him called Mr. Boundy. They looked after the ground very, very well. but I never know from December onwards what it was like to have grass under my feet. Never. It was always muddy because the ground's always known to be very heavy. So they're very lucky because here you can hear when teams come here that they just love to come to Cambridge because it's such a nice ground. But it wasn't quite as nice as it is now. But then they've got more modernised equipment, you know, to keep the ground going nicely. We was never allowed on it. We had to go over Coldham's Common. Oh crikey! Couldn't even cut across it to go out to Coldham's Common. He used to go on to us. So.
And with regard to the changing rooms and the stand,
yeah,
and that sort of thing?
The changing rooms was in the corner as you come into the ground, and then we changed that while I was here. They changed that to Dudley Arliss, is the man who made a lot of money for Cambridge United, the ticket man. There was 2 chaps working full time, as you know, for Cambridge in those days, earning a lot of money. And that's another thing, we always used to muck in as players. We'd draw the tickets out, and you know, I think what a lot of the players probably miss today is, I don't know if they do mingle with you supporters, but we was never far from you, you know, because we only had the supporters club to go in, agreed. But I'd go in there and the wife wouldn't see me on Saturday night until at least 8 o'clock. After the game we'd go straight in there, and we'd probably go in there with £0.50 in our pockets and come away with £0.50 and a bit tipsy and all this. But that's not the reason we went in there. The reason we went in there is, like Mr. Smart, the chairman of Cambridge United, when his old dad was alive, and he got banned actually from the ground for striking the referee. But yeah, we used to have some good fun in there because everybody met in there, supporters and players, and that's how we got to know the supporters, and that's how we got on with them. If we went away, we always made sure the club gave us free tickets, and we used to go out then. I used to go out outside the ground before the game and see your supporters, and I'd give all your tickets. You never had to pay to go in a game, no away from home. But that's how we were. You see, don't forget we was full time yet again, so we was all good lads together. You know. The trouble is, over here at United we had a big bath in the middle, just a concrete. It was no tiles, no, it was all just a concrete, and if you was last in on a muddy day, and like I just said to you what the pitch was like from December onwards, if you got in there last you come out sight dirty than you went in. But I remember one day we was going to play in the FA Cup and it was been snowing, and it came out that they wanted volunteers to clear the pitch, and they've got all the phone numbers of our, you know, the players, those of us that was on the phones, weren't always on the phones, especially mobiles. There are no such thing as mobiles. So anyway, we all came across that Saturday morning as we was going to play here in the FA Cup in the afternoon, and we all cleared the snow off the pitch, directors, supporters and us players, and nearly every player was there. We cleared all the snow off, and we went back to have a nice bath, which had been unheard of today, but we went back to have a nice bath because we was all cold, and somebody happened to say to, I don't know if you all remember a boy called McVitie that used to play here, don't you? Yes, he went to play for Cambridge City, didn't he, in the end, Matt. Poor old boy's not with us anymore now, I'm sorry to say, but anyway, Matt was, and you could wind Matt up any time he liked, and that's why he got 5 children, I think. But he sat in the bath and we said, we knew Mr. Woolley was just round the corner, the chairman, and we said, the chairman wants to know, means it's snowing badly again, if you can clear the pitch. We've got to remember this was 1 o'clock Saturday and we was going to play it at 3 o'clock in the FA Cup, and he told us to tell Mr. Woolley what to do. Now, I can't obviously repeat it in here, what he said, and of course Mr. Woolley heard him, told him he was going to sack him, but anyway, it weren't snowing anymore, and we won the game 2-1.